I'm a sommelier, a private sommelier for the Forbes family, Dean Forbes in particular. Today, we are serving the beautiful Dominus from Napa Valley. It's a 2015 Bordeaux blend.
So we're back, next episode of Cap Table Talks. You know, my thing is to have down-to-earth conversations with people from our community who've done extremely well. And this is a person that fits that category to the 10th degree. And I know he doesn't like talking about his wealth and his money, but we're going to have a little bit of a money matters conversation today. I think people know parts of his story. We're going to touch on that as well. My good friend, Antoine Dixon Bellot. How you doing, my brother?
What's going on, Dean? Good to be here, man.
You know, people see you, see us, but see you on social media. They see the success, they see the heights because you've made a choice to allow that to be shared. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we did that wasn't widely shared is we both went and supported our friend, you know, Ben Lindsay, CEO of great charity, Power to Fight. And I called you at the last minute and said, you know, and like, can you come through? And you jumped on it, but why was it important for you to come and support something like that?
The actual charity and what he's trying to represent is astonishing. It's amazing. And for him to give, obviously, his life to such a cause and dedicate himself to that degree, how can I not attend? Yeah. Because the percentage of what I'm doing compared to what he's doing is unparalleled. So, so how dare I not? You know, and you've called me and you have a lot of the same beliefs, you know, that I have in terms of, you know, helping people and you know, representing, you know, in the right ways. So so that's what the network is about, you know. So I had to be there. People
should know this. Like, I got a bone to pick with Antoine because we're bidding at the auction, and early in the bidding, I'm bidding against Antoine just to push the price up by like a few, you know, 100 and a couple thousand here and there.
This is the painting.
So yeah.
In particular.
So he's like spent a ton of money on different things just to support the charity. Like a lot of things that I know you can get. Anyway. And then we go to some of the bigger items. So I didn't bid on a lot of things, I just wanted one thing. So I'm bidding on this thing, and Antoine's bidding against me. And I'm looking at him and I'm saying, allow it, like, what are you doing? And he keeps bidding, and he half wanted it, and I know he would have paid for it. But then in the end, you made me end up paying well over the odds for that.
Pretty much, yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. People will know your story. Some of the people maybe watching won't know. And you're a South London man, grew up kind of playing football a little bit. So tell us a little bit about that first chapter of
your life. So obviously I was, you know, Southeast London boy. I was from Plumstead. If some people know where it is, some people don't, but it's in the borough of Greenwich. Yeah. And, you know, grew up there, went to school in Eltham, primary school and secondary school. And yeah, like I probably started playing football really late actually. I think I started playing football in like the age of, I think 9, 10. I started kicking the ball. I think it was my first school year of playing football. I got selected for district, got selected for Millwall after that. Was there for a few years, then got scouted for Wimbledon, then got selected to play for Wimbledon. I got selected for county, played for London, and then got taken over to Arsenal on trial. Wow. And then got a 1-year YT at under 17s. Didn't work out so well, unfortunately.
Like, how did that end?
So Liam Brady called my house.
Arsenal legend.
Yeah. Who was the youth development officer at the time. Called my house. My mum answered, and he said, "Oh, we're not going to be continuing Antoine at Arsenal." And I was absolutely devastated, nailed.
Do you look back on it with disappointment that, you know, I was good enough, I should have made it? Or were you like, they called it right?
Honestly, they called it right.
Do you know something? I say the same thing. Like for years after my football thing ended, mine was a little bit different because I was injured at the time. So it got thrown under this umbrella of injury. And I grabbed it. I was like, yeah, I was injured. Like, and then among all of my friends, I was saying, I would have got it if I wasn't injured. And they started jumping on the same thing as well. Like, yeah, definitely good enough. If you weren't injured. Yeah. And only later in life, probably in business, where you realize what it takes to achieve something good. I look back and I thought, yeah, I was miles off of it. I wasn't off of it, I was miles.
Answering the question specifically, when you say, was I good enough? The answer is no. But could I have been good enough? The answer is, of course.
Would you say that was like your first major life disappointment?
Most definitely, I would say, because especially when, and it taught me about complacency. A lot of professional footballers that will look back now when we were younger will agree with me about Joe Cole, for example. Joe Cole, although obviously he wasn't necessarily David Beckham in stature and notoriety, but as a youngster was unbelievable. Him and I played for the same London team. Obviously he played for England, but we were at London together, which is level below. They chose 22 or 24 of the best district players in London, and they put us 11 aside against each other. And he was going to choose his first 11 from the 11 aside. That's how he done it. Joe Cole turns up, plays 45 minutes, and then Dave Goodwin goes, "Yeah, Joe, that's I've seen enough, mate." And he sends him home at half time. I swear to God. And I had big boy players like Jay Buffroyd. Like we were playing, we had to pay our dues.
The 93 minutes.
We had to do
the full 93 minutes.
We had to play the whole match.
Right.
They sent Joe home at half
45
time.
minutes.
It makes you realise, it brings you back down to earth.
Right.
And then
There's
you're like,
a lot of
okay,
distance.
if I want to be even close to that level, I need to work.
So let's take the football disappointment. You were kind of single parent mum from the Caribbean household. Right, so talk a little bit about that, and then what happened like after you left.
My mum was hard. Like she had to be. I had a strict household, but full of a lot of love. And my mum wanted me to be the best. She pushed me and told me, son, it's not easy for you here. Trust me. You're black male, and there's going to be obstacles that I need you to prepare for.
My mum was the same, right? And I always think about the fact that we were three boys and my mum in the house, like no money, right, living in a really difficult situation. And at the time, I kind of realized it was a little bit difficult, but I wasn't a victim of it or oppressed by it. It was just life. That's how we lived. As an adult, I look back and I go, oh my God. That was crazy how we lived in terms of like not having money, how we got from one day to the next, and my mum would create games and stuff so that we wouldn't really realize. Her mentality was, that might be your only shirt, your only tie, your only trousers, and your only pair of shoes that we have to wash and get ready for you to wear again tomorrow. But you're gonna leave the house looking impeccable and come home looking impeccable, and your grades are gonna be impeccable, and your behavior is going to be impeccable. And later in life, I look back on that, and I always look back on it and think, if she could insist on excellence in those circumstances, it's unimaginable to think about anything other than excellence in our current circumstance. Now there's books, there's media coverage, there's all kinds of think tanks on why people like us can't thrive if we start life with low income, disappointments like we both experienced with football, and absent fathers. And I'm not saying that is a recipe for success, right? Because we know it isn't, but it doesn't condemn you to failure kind of out of the gate, right? So when did you develop the mentality that got us to this point?
In my mind, I was always a person that visualized ultimate success. We're talking, when I mean success, let's define it. I'm talking about, in this context, more the financial side of success. I talk about this because this is the only way I could describe it. When I feel so fixated on the goal, I feel like I've already achieved it.
So in your head, you're like, this is what I need to, this is what I'm gonna do. Actually, it's going to happen.
It's already done.
It's gonna happen. It's already done. So now I just have to do the paperwork.
I've done that since I was about 7, 8 years old.
Right.
So I believe this was something that was in me. And, the hyper-focus is what keeps you on that path because you work towards it. You have to become obsessed. You have to. And that isn't anything that anybody can make you do.
Right. I got a different philosophy on it. The disappointment of not getting it at a point in life made me go, well, why? Like, why didn't I get it? And made me confront the fact I wasn't disciplined. So I don't look at it and say I didn't want it enough. I look at it and say I actually didn't even understand that you needed to commit to that degree to something. In school, I was kind of behaving the same way as at football, right? I was kind of, showing up, doing enough, and I was getting good grades. At football, I was showing up, being picked to play in the team, seemed to be doing okay in the team. Like everywhere I went with minimal investment, I seemed to be getting the returns that the situation should give me. It wasn't until football where it got cut like harshly and abruptly, and years later I had to say, well, like, why is this? Oh, there was a huge chasm in application between me and those that did do it, and so I learned it that way.
Honestly, I put as a big grown-ass man now, I'll tell you, it was ego.
Yeah.
Ego really held me back.
There's two sides to it though.
Yeah.
Right. Because I often put some things that I've achieved down to ego and pride.
I knew you were going to say that.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's the ego, and I think a big ego, especially in men from our community, you combine it with insecurity, that is where a lot of our, I think, cultural problems among men come from. However, on the other side, like ego and pride, there's been a lot of situations I've been in, and I'm sure you're the same, where you're not supposed to get the outcome and the odds are against you, and you go, no. This ends with a victory.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm coming home with this medal.
100%.
And everybody's going, let it go, leave it, it's not worth it, I don't think we can do it. And you just go, all right, buckle up.
Yeah. Ego can breed complacency, or it can breed hunger.
Right.
So if you use it the right way, it can really be an advantage.
Let's jump forward now, because you had that middle life experience similar to me. We were joking yesterday, you were saying, I was sleeping on my friend's corridor. And I said, no, you mean sofa? And you're like, no.
Nah, corridor. I was about 19, got chucked out because my fault, rude. She's like, not in my house.
No, thank you.
I was like, whatever, you ain't gonna chuck me out. Whatever.
And you're standing outside the door
Until one day, the key is
going.
not working.
She changed the locks.
I'm looking at her, making sure no one can see. I'm like, is this for real?
Is this the right door?
The locks was changed. She spoke to me through the door. So this is for your own best interest. You need to learn to be a man because you think you're one.
Wow.
You know, I was phoned around thinking, who can I stay at? And I phoned my friend Serge. He goes, this could be your bed area. I was like, it's the corridor. He said, there's no space. They should want to sleep in the boiler cupboard.
Right.
I'm like, I'll take the corridor. And it was supposed to be 2 nights. 2 nights turned to 3 nights, turned to 3 weeks. I remember lying on that floor, laminate floor, not even carpet. There was no duvet. There was only a duvet cover and a bed sheet. And you know, because the bathroom was in the corridor, in the middle of the night when my friends was trying to go to the toilet, they're walking over me. Bro, they're walking over me to go to the toilet. This is an experience I'll never forget in a 1-bedroom council flat in Charlton.
Right.
So months later, I got offered a council flat.
Okay.
And I was there for a few years, and you know, it was a lifesaver, to be honest.
From the corridor at your friend's to first council flat, where now, you know, you built an amazing kind of media and production business, £23 million property portfolio. Now, everybody would have seen the Georgian mansion that you invested in. Everyone would have seen the new, I think it's going to be your residence that you've invested in as well, which is on a huge plot, big number of outhouses. Right, so people have to kind of freeze frame that person who's had that journey up until that moment to now, like this person.
Yeah. So
what is the number one driver that transforms that person into this, would you say?
It's the burning, relentless desire to win, to be successful, to achieve, to want to be the best, to want to be at the front.
I've observed in you that you think different as well. You have a different thought process, right? A different way to come at things. Even as simple as the way you break down how to build a property portfolio. And it's kind of like what you explained earlier, where you go backwards, and the simplicity in which, like, you see complex things, right? That beautiful narration that you do of, you can put £1 million into one property and it accrues value on one property, or you can spread that £1 million across multiple properties, and now you're accruing value across multiple properties. And tens of thousands of people at that moment went, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I think you have all of that fire that you described, but I think you you think different?
When I was building like the media empire of the, you know, the production company, of eventually becoming the production company, the manufacturing company, the camera and lighting rental company, the film studio, all separate trading entities. My first bit of equipment I had was and we're talking back in the day, it was a Red One camera. I could only afford to buy the camera body. The camera body was £15,000, but it's a modular kit. I didn't have the matte box, the follow focus, the mini memory cards, the filters, the tripod, the head, the legs.
Right.
I could go on. So I owned the body, and I had to go to a rental house, and I used to go to him and hire all of the rest of the camera bits because I could only afford the body. But rather than paying £600, £700, £800 for the Red camera, I might have only had to pay £350. Mm-hmm. So I'm still not getting the whole 600,
but you're chipping.
I'm chipping.
Yeah.
So I'm saving that money that I'm chipping, and every time it reaches a certain number, I'm buying the bit of the module, and then you build. That's not rocket science.
No, I hear you, but the thought process, you have to start with this, with this like maniac thought process that at some point this 50K should all come to me, right? And I think that was your starting point. Even when we talk about property deals, right? Your brain starts fizzing about how to structure this deal and how to like optimize the deal. Your brain fizzes on a different energy, and I like that's why I like talking to you and being around you, because of that, like that fizz and that frequency. We're achieving an amazing like quality and standard of life. You know, net worth's crazy, and all through hard work. Right, nobody can say that was accrued in any kind of ill-gotten ways. We pay our dues, we pay our taxes. So you know, huge admiration for that. But you got a certain level of drive right now, and I don't think people understand the patience and hard work it takes to get it. Like they see this today, they see the cars today, they see the houses today. They don't understand the hard work.
You know, people that think you can just magic wealth, it doesn't work that way. I mean, you understand that yourself. In your career, you have to work, and you have to be patient, and you have to be self-disciplined. And it's not an overnight success.
Interested to see how you thought about it. When I first made money, I was obsessed with being able to see it. Right. I had it in a current account, like I had like big numbers in a current account, because I wanted to be able to put my card in the bank and see it. I wanted to be able to get a receipt out of the bank, like, and see the money. It was so important to see it. And if I spent it, I wanted to spend it on things I could see. Like, I needed to have cars, I needed to have houses, I needed to have watches so that I could see them. Now, I want to see the money. Like, I want to keep it as far away from me as possible, because that deals with two things. One, I spend less because it's further away. Correct. And two, I never wake up conditioned to the fact that I've got this much, because I'd have to spend like a bit of time thinking, what did I do over there? How much is that? I'd have to ring people and go, what did we do? How much is where? And it would take time. So more often than not, I don't know how much money I've got. Yeah. And it's deliberate, because I don't want to wake up every day thinking I've cracked it.
I think same. When I made my first few M's, I was like, I want to see it. Yeah. But I think you just need to just get that out of your system for a couple of days, and it's nice to see. Okay, cool, it's legit, it's for real. I can see it, and then we move. Yeah. But it's like what I've learned to become more sophisticated in investment is that I now know what I've learned is that if I have too much liquidity for too long a period of time, I'm not a good investor.
Right. Well, when that first set of 7 figures is coming in, what was it like for you? Because for me, it was just disbelief. Like, I had a period of disbelief. Then I had a period of being super responsible, paid everyone's mortgage, you know, bought all the houses that were in the family, did everything for everybody I ever wanted to do. And then I was like, but there's still a lot left, right? And that's when I went crazy. Like, that's when I lost my head. And that's the mistake I made in like keeping that money around me. But it sounds like you were better when that happened.
I remember the first time when I realized I was a millionaire. I remember that quite, again, significant events. I wasn't a multi-millionaire at the time. I was just a millionaire. And I sat down with my accountant, who was my old accountant, who was a freelance accountant. And we sat down. We used to meet every month in a coffee shop. you know, he was working from home, but I was on the go. We met in a coffee shop in Southwest London, and we went through the group accounts, and we went through everything, and we looked at the balance sheet and the P&Ls, and he said, "So, Antoine, congratulations." I was like, "For what?" And I still couldn't see it. He said, "You're officially a millionaire," right? And I was like, "Oh." But you know what was so strange? As a young child, I was obsessed. Like most young, not most, but many young people, we always think, oh, millionaire, millionaire, millionaire. Right. We would love it. We all want to be that guy or girl, right? But when I was told that,
it didn't land.
Meant nothing. I didn't feel like a millionaire. Didn't land. I'm seeing it on paper.
Yeah.
But I don't have $1 million in cash in the bank because I thought that was how it was defined. Again, I was not so well versed. And I realized that what I wanted to achieve, what I've been told and what it meant that I had to draw, couldn't touch the sides. Right? And I was just like, oh, it's not enough.
And it kicked you on though. It made you say, well, if this is what $1 million is like, it's not good enough.
It's correct.
Yeah.
So again, you know, and it spurred me, and it spurred me, and it spurred me. And it's a dangerous game, isn't it? Because what's relative continues to change.
Yeah, of course.
You know, 1 mil, 2 mil, 5 mil, 10 mil, it continues to change. So it's like, where do you draw the line?
My situation was with this big block that came in, and like I said, I tried to be, well, I was responsible and paid everything and sorted out the family. And then I really enjoyed myself and I overindulged and was quite reckless with money for a period. And then the money started to erode. Of course it does, because actually we haven't done anything with this money to sustain it, right? So now the money's eroding. And what was happening to me is I was going, whoa, everybody now knows I'm a multimillionaire. If this money all goes away, like I will be a failure and everybody will be like, whoa, what happened to you? Yeah. And that's what drove me. I was like, whoa. So we're gonna need to make 2 or 3 times this and do better. Yeah. But it's such a toxic motivator. But like I'm grateful for it, because as the money was going down, I was thinking, oh shit, like, we're gonna hit a point where people are gonna be like,
where's the money?
What happened, dude?
Yeah.
And our ego and pride was like, well, yeah, I'm not sitting across from people who have been applauding and lauding me for what I've achieved, and explain to them that I bought, like at one point I had 6 cars.
Yeah.
Right? At one point I had 6 cars, and when I knew that had gone too far, I had 6 cars, and I was getting speeding tickets for a car. I was going, but I don't own this car. And I was stood outside my house going, yeah, I don't even own this car. And I said to my wife then, I was like, yeah, they keep sending me tickets for this car. And she said, no, you gave that car, you lent that car to your friend like 4 or 5 months ago.
Wow.
I'd forgotten about it completely. Wow. It was only the speeding ticket that reminded me
that it was yours.
And at that point I was like,
this is reckless.
Yeah, I think I might be out of control.
Yeah. What we have in common, and a lot of other people in our position have in common, is what drives us might not be the exact same thing. There'll be similarities and differences, but we all have a why. And as long as your why is significant to you, that's what you need.
100%. As we know, like you hit a certain point where you have to manage things differently. And I was fortunate to get a good team, and I kind of learned that the hard way, but I'm grateful for the lesson. Like, how do you manage yourself and your money now? Like, what are your 2 or 3 things that, you know, are your baseline for making sure you're good?
An amazing accountant, without a shadow, because the accountant just makes sure that everything is efficient. If there are any, you know, sometimes you can pay too much tax accidentally because you're generating a lot of money, and there are certain tax breaks for certain individuals that need to be accrued correctly.
I think we shared something on social media about my accountant, and people jumped on me saying, but we thought you had a black accountant. Like, what happened to your black accountant? Which I did have. And I stupidly, it was a long time ago, I took the bait, and now I'm arguing about why. But the reality is, like, that guy had never done accounting and tax returns for a certain amount of money and wealth. So he did make mistakes and would have continued to make mistakes. And those mistakes now have like a lot of zeros, right, against them. And this guy has been doing this for people like me and the person I want to be in 10 years, right? And people well ahead of me for many, many years. So this is now a safer option. And you have to pick like your team, especially people you're putting in the team in those critical roles, right?
100%. Yeah, your power team is very, very important. And I don't pick my power team based on color. I pick it based on performance.
Yeah, experience.
And experience. Mm-hmm. You know, can you do the job? You know, I'm quite well versed in financial literacy. I understand how to read accounts. If you're depends if you're either a CFO or if you're an entrepreneur of your own business, a director, you need to understand how to read a set of accounts. Mm-hmm. It's very, very important, especially because once you do that, you can do your cash flow forecasts. You can model businesses, you can model your own businesses. Right. These are very, very important. You know this. I'm preaching to the choir here.
You're focused on technically being able to manage your. And do you still do that yourself? Like, are you?
No. I've got a lot of people that manage that, but I understand what I'm paying someone to do.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? I might not understand every legislation, but I know how to read a set of accounts in depth.
100%.
You know,
100%. I'm the same. We've got a good team, but I take pride in being able to spot things that don't look right a mile off. And I call it tapping people's pockets, right? You know, when we were younger, when like you're on the estate and you might be trying to get to the shop and you got to get through the kids that are tapping your pockets. And because they tapped your pockets, they kept you on your toes, right? So now I have that same mentality, like with my team, like my lawyer and my accountants. I look over their work from time to time and I go, that isn't right. And you might throw in a couple, not sure about that, not sure about that. Yeah. Because you're letting them know, like, this better be right. Because there's a possibility I look at it, and there's a very high possibility if I look at it, I can find any nonsense that you might be trying to do.
100%.
So I pat their pockets regularly.
It's important, and as you said, it keeps them on their toes, and it keeps you on your toes, and that makes for an efficient relationship.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, you're a big investor, so how do you think about putting your money to work?
Most of the time, it's property. I mean, that's my thing. Obviously, the film companies run themselves. I've got a great team of people that are in charge of that. But property, I'm super hands-on because it's the hustle in me. I love it. Yeah. I've got some projects that are just very standard, which are like, this is the set of plans, build that, survey, refi, next. Yeah. That's cool because that's nice from a passive respect. But I love getting involved sometimes in certain projects. It really gives me great pride because I can get creative, which is something I've lost from not being a producer anymore. Okay. I have another way to redefine my creativity. Right. So I'm quite involved in a lot of the modeling of a project, the aesthetic. I work very closely with a particular interior designer. But that's more on the ornate side of things, you know, country estates, quintessential vibe.
You like doing those?
Yeah.
It's funny, Southeast London boy, grew up on the estate, is now renovating these Georgian and period homes. It's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. Maybe, you know, early 20s, I was obsessed with the concept of passive income. You know, I've read books, lots and lots of books, and had dreamy conversation with friends when we were before. I don't like to use the word made it, but before I was secure, right? And we'd always be like, you imagine what it's like to make money in your sleep. I was like, I need property, especially where one of my businesses in particular, one of my firms, manufacturing, was based on remodeling vintage glass, optics, elements, front and rear elements of a particular camera lens, stills lens. And one of the businesses, the success was based on the availability of that particular vintage glass. What does that mean? If it's not being reproduced, it runs out like oil. It's finite, right?
Okay, so I became very, very aggressively motivated into pumping money into property from the proceeds of that particular business, because I knew that this is such an affluent business. Based on the model of it, it cannot be self-sustained over a certain period of time. Okay. So I need to, as quickly as possible, grab that money, put it into there, and let that compound and build and appreciate.
That passive income thing is it's massive. It means you speculate differently, right? Because you know there's a foundation, there's a base there that's coming in. So when the big bets are there to be made, you can make them a little bit differently.
Yes.
Without the passive income, you start looking at the big bets with caution, because you're saying, well, this could work, but if it doesn't work,
that's what holds you back.
Right, exactly. So that baseline of passive income, that kind of safety net of we're good, you know,
can be more speculative in other areas.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of how I always look at it. But I always say I'm a poor man with money, because I still manage my money the same as I did when I had £100. I still, right? And that premise is, if I want to buy it, I have to have twice the money.
Are you talking about something that's a liability? Sorry, should I say?
Liability for sure. But then even the investment, even when I'm investing, a lot of the time, not all of the time, a lot of the time, the number one question I ask myself is, am I okay to lose this money?
And you can't go wrong with that philosophy, you know? Because 90% of my investments are in property. The risk is so minimal to me, that I don't need to be as cautious.
Okay.
Because I'm buying something at a price that, even if it goes wrong, I've made more money than I've put in. Being cautious isn't a bad thing, and being conservative is not a bad thing. It's definitely better than spunking a fortune. Do you see what I mean?
No,
so no one can ever say that's the wrong way to do that. As long as you are sensible and you are diligent and you're patient, then it makes for a better investment.
I'm interested in your medals, right? What do you look at and touch and say, that came and is a result of my amazing success and journey?
I would say my personal accolade is being able to buy property, millions and millions of pounds worth of property, and have no money left in anything, no personal investment in that deal. It's out and building more property.
Something else.
And then in 12 months from now, we're gonna have another conversation, and that would have come out, and I'd have bought another 4, 5, 6 million pound worth of property. And that's literally the conveyor belt. And what gives me pride is the efficiency and the recycling of capital that can create and compound more and more property investments.
And that's what really sets you apart from other people who are property investors, right? That ability to bounce that capital quickly and have it, you know, accrue and compound. What watch, what car, what house, what holiday have you bought that you think the 20-year-old of me could never have imagined this?
The 20-year-old me did imagine it, and that's
that's why you got it.
That's the difference. It was already acquired in my head. But what I'm particularly proud of, definitely the 52-acre estate, because it's so significant. When I walk around the estate, I feel like I'm going to see dog walkers. I'm going to see a man teaching his kid how to fly a kite. I'm going to see joggers.
Right.
Then there's just fields and wilderness and forestry, and it belongs to me.
And it's you and your family.
And if I see you, it means you're in my house.
Right.
That was the adjustment that I had to make. It was the land and the freedom. That was something I hadn't experienced in any of the luxury properties that I've owned or that I own, or places I've been to. It was the freedom. And it really feels very generational wealth-esque, I would say. And it's something that I have pride that I know are going to go to my daughters, my little Power Rangers.
Right.
And they're going to be able to hopefully do something very amazing.
People like us, growing up from where we're from, dealing with the hardships and the travel, the challenges that we had to deal with, even though you're different and we're able to imagine and project those things, we don't think about those things, and we should.
Something I really, really want to hit home, and I'm sure you and I are aligned in this completely. We are normal people, came from very humble beginnings, with trials and tribulations, like a lot of people have go through, but have overcome our obstacles and our boundaries and our circumstances to attempt to create greatness. And anybody can do it. But it starts with self-belief.
Starts with you.
It starts with you. You can't look yes, people can help you along the way, but if you don't have that core influence in yourself, no one can lead you to that point. And I want people to understand this is not a wow, look at us. This is a wow, we can do it too, because you can open your own doors if you decide. But you have to have that serious conversation with yourself and say, right, this is the end goal, and I'm going to be relentless. And I might have to make some sacrifices and some changes in my life, but I can do it. Because if, again, something I'd said at my Coots talk, if it's already been done, it can be done.
Yeah, of course.
That's all you need to know.
Of course. Can't be dragged to greatness. You have to get up, run, or walk yourself. Look, man, that's the place. That's the place to leave this. I know you got a book coming out, so tell us about the book.
Yeah, I've got a book coming out. I'm undecided on which publisher I'm going to go with at the moment. There's a couple of offers on the table, so any interested offers, hit me
Come
up.
through me. Come through me.
But I've got a book coming out called How to Get a £7 Million Mansion for Free, the A to Z guide of building a property empire. And it is hopefully a book of inspiration. There's a little bit of personal information in there. Some things that maybe a few years ago I wouldn't be too happy to disclose, but I think it's important to tell the story. And it is got so much technical know-how on deal breakdowns and how to leverage and what that means. So that book's coming out soon. It was a personal goal of mine was to be an author, but the right type of book, you know, and something that is actually going to help people. And I can put that energy out there. So I'm really excited. Oh,
wicked. Well, look, we're going to support the book. I'm going to support the book. Of course, pleasure to speak to you. Thanks for dropping in. I know we talk all the time. And maybe as part of this, I might share some of the voice notes that we send each other. So when Antoine says we're just normal guys and you hear the stupidness that goes on in the voice notes, you realise, but look, wicked to talk to you. More life, more success.
Same.
Keep pushing for us. That's all we want to see, man. Cap Table Talks. Take care, guys.